Hey, everybody, and welcome back to yet another episode of Eon Network Podcast. I'm your host, Adrian Matt, and before I get to today's topic, I would like to just preface this by saying that in the most previous video was about Mr. Beast, and I would like to confirm that we are going to talk a lot about Mr. Beast in the next couple of weeks because I understand that there's more information coming to light dealing on that end. So I can tell you this, that there's going to be more videos concerning Mr. Beast, and for anyone who has yet to seen it, you should watch the most recent video and do your own digging because stuff is really happening around Mr. Beast and his world, and it's not looking good for him. But before we get to that subject, of course, I would like to talk about a subject in which I don't think a lot of people really talk about. I'm here to tell you, at least this is coming from me, that I believe actors really in the last decade have been absolutely terrible. You know, the actors from the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, you can of course make a claim and say, wow, they were entertaining, they were great actors. However, the actors we see today are just absolutely painfully awful. And the reason why I say last decade is because, honestly, in the last decade, there has not been a movie that I've watched that made me go, wow, that has been absolutely incredible. It is great acting. My goodness gracious. I honestly cannot think of any movie that makes me go that way. Because the actors, by the way, are the ones that are supposed to entice you to continue to watch, and they're supposed to have an emotional attachment to you so that way you can continue perhaps in a series, if it's a movie series, for instance, or whatever the case. Actors are terrible, and I have plenty of different examples. And these are popular topics that I'm about to reference. For example, Stranger Things. I know Stranger Things is a huge pop culture icon. A lot of people, of course, talk about it worldwide. It is huge when it comes to Netflix, and they have a lot of actors there that a lot of people around the world love. But that's the problem now. These actors, the one that everyone loves, or the ones that everyone love, these actors are horrible, okay? They're terrible. Okay, Stranger Things is probably the best example for me to say on how these actors are doing awful. It's just a great example for me to tell you guys. Because let's go ahead and break it down. Stranger Things. That series came out back in 2016, I believe. And then they did season 1, 2, 3, and of course 4. I think they're going to be releasing 5 next year. I'm not quite sure. Yeah, 2025, that's whenever season 5 is expected to be released. But yeah, I mean, listen, those actors have to be one of the worst set of actors I've ever seen, and they're so overrated. I mean, especially from season 4. The guy who plays Mike, Finn Wolfhard, I think that's his name. The guy showed absolutely no emotions. Go ahead and watch it for yourself if you want. Okay, he was at least he was terrible from season 1 to 3. I didn't like his acting whatsoever. But at the very least, you can kind of see somewhat of emotions going through his lines and all that stuff. At least. And I wouldn't put that much emphasis on the emotions that he was showing from season 1 to 3. But nevertheless, though, season 4, on the other hand, it was terrible. It's almost as if he was saying all his lines just so he can collect a paycheck. And that's the problem with today's actors. Today's actors, they honestly believe that they are so established. They honestly believe that everyone knows about them. And they honestly believe that because of the fact that they are so good, they know that they can really act as awful as they can, and they're still going to get paid, and they're still going to get well known because their credibility, of course, is through the roof. Everyone knows who Finn Wolfhard is, or at least if you're a huge Stranger Things fan, which I'm pretty sure a lot of people know that show. So, actors nowadays, I feel as if they're just not into it anymore. And this is coming from me. I truly think that actors are just doing it for the paycheck. Hollywood has really turned upside down, in my opinion, over the last decade because, again, the actors that I keep seeing in shows and in movies and whatnot are absolutely just abysmal. It's really hard for me to finish a movie nowadays because of how downright awful the acting is. And a lot of actors, again, there's a lot of responsibilities. I know a lot of people are going to say, well, that's the director's fault because the directors are the ones that are going to be kind of shifting the actor's emotions and all that stuff. And some of it may be true, sure, but it's the actor's responsibility because the actor themselves will be on camera. It's their responsibility to make sure that they entice you, the fan, the consumer, to watch their product and perhaps maybe buy merchandise or follow their social media platforms and to perhaps maybe wait for a sequel, things like that. It's their responsibility. They are the ones who are on camera. Again, going back to Stranger Things, this is a terrible, terrible series. All right, I watched season 1, 2, 3, and 4, and you might be sitting there thinking, well, if you think it's a terrible series, why do you watch it? And the reason why I watch it is because I really want to know exactly what is it about this show that people are so into. The actors on there are just beyond terrible. Okay, I already talked about Finn Wolfhard. I do not know the other names of the actors, I'm not going to lie to you. But I mean, the guy who plays, I'm going to have to do a little bit more research because I know Mike, and there's other people, of course, such as Stranger Things characters. I'm going to have to make sure I refresh my memory. So obviously 11 is one of the main ones. I know that. And then Mike, of course. Yes. So it says here, Dustin, of course, is one of them. There's Steve Harrington, Max, Will Byers, things like that. Okay. So Lucas. All right. So here's the thing. These guys that I just mentioned, okay? And let's throw their real names in here. So Gayton is the guy that played Dustin. Millie Bobby Brown is is the female that played 11. Max also is played by Sadie Sink. And whatnot. The list goes on and on. These guys should not get any credit. You watch the episodes, you watch the cutscenes, you watch everything about it, and they are so bad at their jobs. They are the main characters. It's funny to me that there are side characters in Stranger Things that are a lot more entertaining to watch than the main characters. For instance, the guy who played Eddie Munson in Stranger Things 4. I thought he actually was pretty good. And it's funny because he's a side character in the entire series. Yes, he's one of the main characters for season 4, but I'm talking about in the entirety of the series. He really is a side character. He's not in season 1 of 3, and he's not going to be making it 5. So in terms of his entire image for the entire series, he's just a side character. And then there's Argyle, whatever his name is, played by Eduardo Franco. Give him his props. I honestly thought his acting was really, really good. All right, I really thought it was good. And even the guy that plays Murray, I think, actually, that's how it's pronounced. But Murray seems to be a pretty good actor as well. But that just stops there. I mean, 11, Millie Bobby Brown, I'm sorry to say this, but that is probably the most boring character, and that is probably the most boring actress I've ever seen. I was going to say, well, that's probably the character that she plays. That is not the case. I was watching Godzilla. She was on that movie, and she was terrible. And there were other scenes that I've watched before in the last couple of weeks that had her in it too, and I just didn't see any emotional attachment whatsoever. So again, I thought maybe that was just the character 11, but it's not. It's her acting skills. That's what it is. She doesn't show any emotions through the acting or through the lines. Okay? Same could be said with the Finn Wolfhard. That guy is horrible. Okay, hold on. How does this Stranger Things fan base, and even if you're not a hardcore Stranger Things fan, people still know of Finn Wolfhard, of all people. That guy is terrible. He doesn't do the job justice. He really doesn't. Okay? I implore everybody to watch season 4 of all. Okay, and to watch his facial expressions, to literally watch everything about him. He looks as if he's so bored. Okay, he has a blank face from beginning all the way to the end. Okay, it just sounds as if he's just regurgitating the lines that he's been given so that way he can get paid. And that's all. And again, can you blame him in a way? Well, actually, I will blame him. But in the mindset of Mr. Finn Wolfhard, the guy already knows that he's established, okay? And this is exactly what I'm talking about. A lot of actors out there already know that they're established. Look at John Cena, for instance, another bad actor. Good guy, sure. Bad actor, absolutely. Okay, John Cena, yet another bad actor. The guy is established. Everybody knows who John Cena is. Okay, everybody, of course, around the world understands who John Cena is. But the fact of the matter is, because of that, it doesn't matter how bad he's going to be acting. He's just going to get paid no matter what. He's going to be featured in a lot of different films because the directors know that he is money, which is smart on their end. But it's not good for the videos or for the movies or the trailers or whatever. Okay, John Cena's another guy. You can literally watch every single movie that John Cena's in. Okay? And you can place any of his characters in any of the movies that he plays, or in any of the movies that he's in, and it doesn't change whatsoever. Literally, the plot wouldn't change, okay? The way he delivers his lines are just about the same in every movie, okay? So it's almost as if, again, you can just basically apply the same character in every single different film because there's no change. He has no dynamic abilities to try to actually portray himself as a different character. And also The Rock. The Rock is another guy. This guy is yet another person that I really do not like. His acting skills are terrible. Here's another guy that, of course, understands. Everybody knows who The Rock is. Of course, he's a millionaire. People love him. People know him around the world. I get it. But this guy here can't act to save his life. He can't. He really cannot. Watch his films as well. I've seen a couple of films with Dwayne The Rock Johnson. I was never impressed. It just didn't seem natural to me. It really didn't. Okay, this guy doesn't come from an acting background, all right? And that's fine. I mean, listen, any actor can come in from any background. That's completely fine. That's no trouble whatsoever, as long as he put in the work in. But The Rock, on the other hand, got his fame from the WWE. Same with John Cena. Both of them were pretty good on the mic. They were pretty good playing the characters in WWE. But just because they were good at playing the characters in WWE does not mean that they are good actors to play in Hollywood. They're not. These guys are horrible. They're terrible. Which is why I say actors recently have been awful. Okay, I talked about Stranger Things. I talked about John Cena and The Rock. Okay, there are no good actors out there. Okay, I mean, there might be one actor, I guess, but I haven't really... No, you know what? I was going to mention Tom Cruise, but really in the last couple of films, he hasn't really been doing that well. I don't know, Mission Impossible was kind of boring to me. Don't get me started on the guy who plays Spider-Man. Okay? The real Spider-Man goes to Tobey Maguire. See, that's early 2000s stuff. Okay? And the guy who played J. Jonah Jameson, okay? He is absolutely incredible. The guy who played Spider-Man, absolutely incredible. So these are actors that when you watch the film, you can believe in the character. You truly believe what they're saying because they put in so much emphasis. They're there to apply all their craft to make sure the character works. Tobey Maguire, if you watch his films, the thing that I love about the guy is that each film, he does play it differently, okay? From Spider-Man to, there's other films. There was this horse film. My goodness, this is going to be terrible, but Tobey Maguire, there's all these different films that he's been in, but I remember he was in a film, for instance, where he was in some sort of horse competition where he was racing with them. So basically, I don't know. I can't find the movie right now at the moment, but it's somewhere there. But anyways, I mean, there's other movies that I've seen, Mr. Tobey Maguire, and I thought, for instance, he was pretty good at them because he's able to. I looked it up. So this is Seabiscuit. So this is, the film Seabiscuit. It came out in 2003, from what I understand, or 2000. Yep, release date back in July 25th, 2003. So here, early 2000s. There we go. See? Early 2000s. All right, this guy is a great actor. All right, again, if you watch his films, it's not as if he's copy and pasting each and every single one of his characters. It's not that he's doing that. He's able to play the characters differently, which allows them to understand, which allows the consumers, the audience members who's willing to watch the product, it really emotionally attaches to them. And another one, too. Oh, and by the way, speaking about Tobey Maguire, I'll tell you this much. The film, I don't know if you guys ever watched it, but it's called Brothers. And he's in that film. And the way he plays the character there is absolutely incredible. Okay, I never thought I would hear Tobey Maguire lose it. Okay, I never thought I'd hear Tobey Maguire completely curse left and right. But in that movie and in that character, he actually did play the character that he needed to. And there was some scenes that he just looked as if he was crazy. All right, so this is what I'm talking about. There's different characters, and you can see the facial expressions. There's so many differences. That's a good actor, in my book. But then we get to the Spider-Man, for instance, who is played by, I don't remember the guy's name. See, I'm forgetting a lot of names here. It's funny because before the podcast, I was saying I'm going to talk about this, I'm going to talk about that, and then right when I'm live, I tend to forget the names here. But the guy that plays the current Spider-Man, it's not Andrew Garfield. However, that guy is awful too. I've seen the movie recently, finally, after, years of contemplating. I saw it last week. I wasn't impressed. I really wasn't. I thought it was boring, to say the least. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that enjoy it, and I'm not going to argue with that. Listen, if you enjoy the movies, absolutely, more power to you. There we go. So it's Tom Holland. What is it with this guy? Why are people talking about this guy since he's the best thing since sliced bread? I mean, there are so many things that I see about this guy, and it's honestly bugging me, so much so. Okay, because, this is another guy that doesn't really show his true expertise. Okay, I don't see much great acting skills in this guy. But here's another person who is basically well-known. And, well, there we go. Everybody around the world knows of Tobey Maguire and, not Tobey Maguire, excuse me, Tom Holland. And, so Tom Holland gets the credit no matter how bad he's going to be acting. He's just going to get credit because he's Tom Holland and everyone knows him and everyone loves him. Just like The Rock, just like John Cena and so forth. Okay, enough with this. These are terrible actors. I'm telling you, the people who are walking into Hollywood right now have absolutely no idea. Okay, I don't consider myself an actor, but you know what? If I was put to the test, I could probably act better than these guys. I probably could. And it's going to sound egotistical. I don't mean to sound that way, but it makes me frustrated that this is exactly what's going on in the film industries now. We're getting actors that just don't really care about their jobs. They're only caring about the paycheck. I know it. Because you have to intently watch the movies. And you know exactly what I'm talking about when you watch Stranger Things Season 4 of all seasons. Going back to that, again, everybody, I implore you, seriously, trust me, watch that season again. Watch it again, and you'll start to see what I'm talking about. The acting is just horrible. Okay? The guy who plays also Noah Schnapp, I think the guy's name is, the Will Byers character is terrible in that one. Okay, Eleven's terrible. Jonathan Byers is just terrible. Okay, Argyle was great, but again, he's a side character, and Eddie Munson was actually pretty good, but he's a side character. I'm talking about the main ones, though, that are featured in every single season. I said it before. These guys are not fit to be acting in this world. Okay? Again, it all goes back to what I said in the beginning of the broadcast or in the podcast. I actually did say that these guys are always going to get their credit because they're so well known, and therefore, obviously, it doesn't matter how bad they're going to be acting. The director knows it's going to bring them a lot of money, so that's why they cast these guys, and therefore, the actors themselves know they can go, well, I don't necessarily need to act that much because, well, we're established and people love us. There we go. So they're going to just get their paycheck. Okay, this is what bothers me. I used to be a huge movie fanatic. Okay, technically I still am, but I really do love watching the 90s and the early 2000 films. And some of them, of course, in the 80s. I really do. And the acting back then is uncomparable. Okay, you cannot compare the two styles of acting that you see from back then and in present times. And that makes me frustrated. Okay, I get annoyed that there's a lot of actors back then that were doing great and they never truly got their credit. And yet here we are with the actors that are doing awful but are getting all the credit in the world. But then again, it is social media. Social media is a huge impact, of course. Back in the 1980s, 90s, early 2000s, there was no Twitter, there was no Instagram and all that stuff. So obviously, it's much easier to be well-known and recognized. If you're a movie actor nowadays, it's much easier for you to get recognized because of social media. So I understand that factor behind it. But with the power of social media, is there any way to revive the movies from back then and give it credit and spread the names of those people who actually deserve the credit? Okay, I'm sure social media can indeed do it. Social media can do it. TikTok and all that stuff, I'm sure. Okay? There's so many different movies out there that are just absolutely good. The Cure 1995 is awesome, for instance, by the way. I don't know if you guys ever got the chance to watch that movie. That movie was just absolutely splendid. There's other movies that I've seen back in the 90s. Look at Child's Play, for instance. The acting there is great. Stephen King's It. That's yet another subject that I have to mention here. Stephen King's It 1990, masterpiece. Masterpiece. I find absolutely nothing bad about that film, but this is coming from me. So I'm sure if you watch the movie, you might not necessarily like it, or you might like it halfway. I'm not sure. But for me, though, it's a masterpiece. It's my favorite film of all time. And then we look at It 2017 and 19 and talk about frustrations. I have my hand over my eyes. I'm face palming right now because I just don't want to talk about this because I get so mad, but I'm going to just talk about it for the sake of the podcast. Here we are with It 2017 and 19. And the actors, oh, by the way, guess what? Finn Wolfhard is there, by the way. He's there. He's in that movie. At least in the 2017 version, but still. Or, well, he is shown in the 2019 version too, so whatever. Anyways, point is, he's there. And in the other, oh my goodness, the other actors are so bad too. Anyways, let's break it down for a second. The 1990 actors, you saw the emotions. You truly saw they were into it. The characters were relatable. Okay, they were absolutely incredible, delivering their lines and just being able to see them act. And I'm talking about both the kids and the adults. Okay, both 1990. Both Stephen King's It from the first part and the second part. From the 1990, that is. Do a great job, an amazing job when it comes to portraying the characters. 2017 and 2019, that was sad. Seriously, that was sad. It was. It was sad. And what I hate the most is that movie will forever be remembered as the true Stephen King's It movie. It's never going to be remembered. Well, the 1990 version of it is never going to be remembered as the original Stephen King's It or the best kinds of Stephen King's It because it's only now in the shadows of It 2017 and 19. I can't stand that. Okay, the acting is awful. Jaden Martell, the guy who plays Bill, for instance, boring. No emotions whatsoever. And don't get me started with the guy who plays the clown. Okay? I'm tired of it. I really am. I'm telling you. Bill Skarsgård, who plays Pennywise in the 2017 and 19, he brought shame to Pennywise. I was so excited. I remember whenever I saw the trailer in 2017, and I said, oh my God, maybe there's going to be a movie nowadays that I can look forward to. This is going to be great. The acting, I'm sure, is going to be good. This is awesome. Stephen King's It. All right, let's do this. And I watched the movie in the movie theaters, came out disgusted. Okay, I just came out saying, okay, well, great. The movie's done and I don't feel anything. It didn't really pump me for the next one. It didn't. Because the acting was just that bad. Again, the guy who plays Pennywise from the 2017 and 19 version, okay? Bill Skarsgård. That man is highly overrated. Will forever be credited as the best Pennywise. You can compare the Pennywise from 1990 and the Pennywise from the 2017 version. There is no comparison, actually. It's like night and day. Tim Curry, the guy who plays 1990s Pennywise, the way he expresses his lines, the way that he's able to produce his emotions through the cameras, the way that he's able to laugh as well, that's exactly what Pennywise should sound like. The laughs and everything like that. Then you look at 2017 and 19, Bill Skarsgård, he laughs as if he's some sort of Scooby-Doo character. He does. He honestly does. And to me, that's just horrible. You're disgracing the legacy of the 1990 It. And you're also disgracing the legacy for all the other actors that are doing terrible nowadays. They're disgracing the legacies that the 1980s and 90s and early 2000s paid for. They paved the way for current actors to fly, so to speak. The actors back then ran, so these actors today can fly. The problem is, though, their flying abilities are terrible. In other words, their acting is awful. There is no actor that I can truly say that I'm really looking forward to. Absolutely not looking forward to their next film, their next project. There's no actors, I'm telling you. Beforehand at the time, even TV shows. I mean, I remember watching Ned's Declassified School Survivor Guide back in the 2000s, early 2000s. Yeah, I saw what's that called? So we saw Ned. We also saw back in the day. It was a great film, or I should say TV series, when it was That's So Raven was great. The acting on there was absolutely stunning. You saw some great shows such as Phil of the Future, even Stevens, if anyone remembers that. iCarly, Drake and Josh. This, of course, comes in from the early 2000s, heading into modern day, but I still, of course, classify them as early 2000s. You look at those actors and you go, this is absolutely incredible. Then you look at the current actors. Go ahead and watch the TV series that's going on in Nickelodeon, Disney, and all that stuff. They are beyond abhorrent. You can't tell me that these guys are good at their jobs, because all they're doing is just reading the lines from the script, and that's basically it. That's all they do. The acting is just, it's not believable anymore. It really isn't. And in a way, it hurts me to say this because, again, I was really into media when it comes to film and actors, all that. But I really lost a bit of interest when there hasn't necessarily been a good acting or good movie recently, or rather in the last decade. It has been absolutely awful. I'm telling you this right here, right now, everybody. This is just beyond terrible. But I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that are going to disagree with me, and that's fine. But I will say this. I'm about to conclude this podcast episode, by just saying that the actors nowadays are terrible, and I would definitely implore everyone to just watch Stranger Things Season 4 just for the sake of watching how terrible their acting is. Not to enjoy the content, because it's not as good. I thought Vecna was pretty cool, but anyway. But nonetheless, though, I'm going to go ahead and end the broadcast. Again, I'm actually frustrated just thinking about how the legacy of the 1980s, 90s, and early 2000s films are now being disdained because of this, the current legacy that we're living in. Anyway, again, everybody, thanks for joining us, of course, in this episode for Eon Network Podcast. We will continue the podcast weekly, every single Wednesday. We appreciate you taking the chance to watch us every single week and being able to like, subscribe, and also, of course, share the content if you can. We'll see you next time, everybody. Have a good night. We'll catch you in the next episode.